All right. Hello, hello. Just got some lunch. Well, hello, everybody. How you doing this afternoon? Or morning, I suppose, for some folks waking up in Asia. Is that true? It's 4 o'clock here. So yeah, there's people in like Japan and Korea. Time in Japan. Yeah, that's about the beginning of the day for folks. Really, and then like Australia, I forgot about that. Time in Australia, New Zealand, different time zones, of course. Noon, yeah. So there's people that are already well underway. So, where do we leave off? How's my display settings? Good. Okay, first things first. We need to add a new step to our batch job to provide us with the data to send over to the Spring batch. Sorry, the Spring integration for remote chunking. And excuse me, we're going to use this bit right here. So we have the writer. How do we want to do that? Basically, we have this database table. Let's go ahead and Docker compose up pg password equals Postgres, PSQL u Postgres, h localhost, and then the schema name is Postgres. Random queue is up. Batch Postgres 1. Hello. Docker ps minus a. Postgres. Exited. Why? Docker rm minus f. Okay. There's Postgres. Sure hope it stays up. I'm not sure why it didn't stay up that time. So what about this? Okay, now we're cooking. There we go. So there's our database. It's empty. We'll run this batch job just to initialize everything. All right. Okay. Font. Struggle with this. Ah, 14. Okay, there we go. So the job is run, and now you can see I've got all the years and the platform and the sales. So what I want is to say, give me all of the rows with the platform equals we, give me all the rows for the year equals 2006, and then I should have like if I say select all from year platform report, whatever, where year equals 2006. There you go. I get that many rows, and it's not the same for every single platform, right? But obviously, not for every year. There's 11 rows there, but what about 1996 or 1997, or whatever? Six rows. So imagine we had an aggregate that read all that data. How would we implement that? What I want to do is have a query that reads all that data, and then if they're part of the same year, it aggregates them and creates the output of that whole query process is an aggregation. And there's not that much data, so I'm not really worried about this becoming too much, right? So we've got our different steps. We're reading data from the CSV to the database. We're turning it into a year platform report. We've got the error handling in case the report that we ingested, the CSV data, is empty. We've got our final step, which just prints out hello, like job's done. This is just to demonstrate what that looks like. And so what I'm proposing is that before we get to the final step, before we do that, we should have a step that, because we're actually going to have one more step that gets us the aggregates. Then that step's going to be a fake step. It's not going to actually do any reading. It's not going to do any writing with it, not processing or writing. It's going to instead send that data using the remote chunking support off to another node where, in theory, we could generate a report, we could draw an image, render something, we could send an email, do all sorts of things that might take time, right? And that we don't want to do on this node in sequence. We'd much rather parallelize. And so we're going to use that proxy step, that remote step, to orchestrate, to fan out the work and then orchestrate all this work in concurrence. But before we do that, we need to actually come up with the data. So let's create another step here. So at configuration class year report configuration, year report step configuration. Okay. And let's just keep this simple. I'm not gonna, do I need the step just yet? Let's try. Okay, so I'm gonna call this year report step, new step builder. Okay, year report step, use a job repository. I'm gonna say that we wanna do a chunk of 100 records. Record year report int year, and then we'll have a collection of record year platform. In platform float sales. Okay, oops, sales. So collection of year platform. I don't ever call it breakout. Okay, or breakdown or something. So this step will produce a bunch of year reports. The question then is, how do we do that? No, I want year report. So year report. Okay. and then I'm going to build. And so for now, I'm not going to do the remote stuff. We're just going to do the reading. I'm going to create a custom item reader here. Item reader, year, report. Okay. And we could use the SQL, the JDBC data source item reader. We could do that, but we don't need streaming support, right? We're dealing with a very small amount here. And also, whatever data we get, we need to get before we start doing the chunking. Maybe we could use. I'm not sure. What can we do? Like if we have a processor, then that would be easy enough, right? Okay, let's assume that we have the ability to do a processor. Is that true? Let's go look at this example, right? So the remote, it says take the chunk writer. So it looks like it delegates the chunk writer. What about the processor? So the processor still happens on the local node before we send it off, right? Item writer is what sends it off. So actually, we could do everything except for the. So this is the read operation. It's got a reader, and yeah, it looks like we could still do the processor, right? There's no reason that couldn't happen. So the writing is the important part. So yes, so in our step, we can assume that we have the ability to do the reader and we have a processor before we actually send the work off to another node, which is cool. So in that case, we want to do a new JDBC cursor item reader builder for a year report. Let's see, what is that going to give us actually? We're not going to get a year report, are we? Not until the item processor. So let's just assume that we get, the year and the platform and the sales, right? So that's year platform sales. We get that year platform sales. In year. Okay, so we got a bunch of year platform sales. And good. Year platform sales dot SQL. It'll be select. Okay. Let's make that a little simpler. I think we're going to need to do a little trick. So let's say select all from year platform report. Okay, order by year. Let's try this out. So what do we get here? We get select all from. We get that ordering by the year. Why are there years with 0? Oh, that's in the source data. We should actually remove that. That'll be another thing to clean up later. Okay, so select all from year platform order. Okay, year. And what I really want is I want to know how many of each row I can expect, right? So it's going to be a little inefficient, but I can say select year platform sales, and then a sub-select, select count from year platform sales. Let me see. I'll call this year YPS year where YPS.year equals year. Does that work? Oh, it's report. It's not sales. So set up a proper SQL editor here. Okay. Okay. Refresh. Fantastic. Table spaces. Rules. Is it not connected? Okay, what about this? Refresh. Okay, why is this? Remove. Okay. New data source, Postgres. Hey, thanks so much. I am feeling better. Yeah. Yeah, that Paxilbit's a miracle. Let's see. Postgres. Postgres. Apply. Okay. Public. Reviews. Tables. Now we're cooking. Okay, good. So what do we got here? Let's see here. Select all from platform sales year. Select count YPS year from year platform report where YPS.year equals the year I'm selecting. So group by year? Can I do that? It's showing me 257. That's the total number of rows. What I really want is to know how many rows we have in the year 2014. So as Y, let's try that. So equals Y. Oh, it doesn't know. I have to do year. Yeah, clearly something is wrong. Okay, what's another way to do this? Because I need to count, don't I? I need to know when to stop aggregating. So that right? Okay. I think that might have worked. So the count for 2016 is 8. So let's test that. Select count from year platform report YPR, where YPR.year equals 2016. 8. Okay. What did I say over here? Oh, there's some different numbers. So what do we say? We got 1984. We see 2. Okay, so 1984, there should be 2 records there. So to prove that works, we say 2. That does work. That's the query. Okay, so we use that query from where YPR year does not equal 0. Okay, that's more like it. So that gives us a count of how many records we get per request. Okay, so that's our query. There's our Java code here. So var SQL equals let's see here. Ready? Okay, we did it. We're making progress here, friends. We've got a count. We got the year, we got the platform, we got the sales, and we got the count. And with that, we can now pass this into the builder SQL, and we can pass in the data source here. So I'll inject that into the configuration class instead of the bean method. Or we could inject it in the bean method. That's fine too. This data source, and we can say build, but we want to map that data, don't we? So bean row mapper. No, we want field set mapper, don't we? Row mapper. There you go. New row mapper. So given a we want a field set mapper that keeps track of the count as well. Actually, we could probably do this all here, right? We could have like a logic. We have a field set mapper that keeps a map, and then we'll just put keys in the map for the year. And then either we've got that map or we don't. If we have that key already for the year, we'll update it. If we don't, we'll just create it. So the collection you'd get here would be, okay, that actually works. We don't even need the processor actually. So let's see, private static class, deduping row mapper, right? Implements row mapper of map. Actually, the type that we need is record. Let's just create the right type that we need. I think we can just do this with this thing right up here, right? Year platform sales. No, we want to use the year report. We can do that here. So year report, implement that. New year report. So we can say, okay, I think just lost it. Here. So we'll create the year report. Private final, deduping the row mapper. and we need a map, private final map integer, and year report. Okay, no concurrent hash map. So we can final map into, I mean, I guess we could just make this not static, right? That'd be fine as well. Then we could share the map. So here we go. And this could just be a row mapper. We'll just define the variable as such. So private final row mapper. Row mapper equals new row mapper, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And you report. Okay, that's good. So now we've got access to this map. So we're going to say, okay, if this dot, if report map dot contains key var year is rs.getInt year. If it contains that key year, then, if it doesn't contain it, report map.put year new year report. Okay, there we are. And it'll be year and a new array list. Good. And then we can say yr equals this.report map, or just report map.get year. And then we can add the data. Okay, so that's, now we can just add the individual row based on what we've got here. So what else do we need? We need the, for the parts of the year report, you know, this array list is a collection of what? It's a collection of year platform sales. So year YPS, new year platform sales, the report map get, not report map, result set is, result set get is a year, rs.get string platform, and rs.get float sales, right? We're just adding that. We can say, add that directly, I guess, add, it's what do we got? Report gives us a year report, and breakout dot add year platform sales. Okay. So now we return this. And we're going to return YR. So it'll be the same bit of data no matter what, right? The same, if it's the same reference, then even though we're adding, in theory, even though this row is being called, this row mapper is being called whatever 1,000 times, we're only going to get like, you know, a couple hundred rows, right? So here's the row mapper. Row mapper. And it's going to return a year platform sales. So it's a item rater of year platform sales. Pretty. So we're returning okay, year platform sales. Year platform sales. Type. That's this. Right. Seems like we're pretty close to good here. Is that right? Row mapper. Year platform sales. YR. No, it's year report. That's the right one. So year report. In that case, this becomes year report and year report. Hey, good. Okay. So that's it. That's all we got to do for the read, right? It's just inject that like that. And we'll inject this. Okay. data source. Data source repository. Port map. Sure, it's easier to read in GitHub. Okay. So now we've got the reader, and we should be able to try it out. We're not going to do anything distributed with it yet, but let's just write it out. Let's just see what the results are. So a new item writer of type year report. So I've got a chunk of year report, get items dot for each yr system out yr.toString, right? r.toString. Okay, let's try that out. See if that step is working. So we need to pull this step in finally to our job. So we'll put it right between the penultimate step and the last step. And we're going to use year report step config. Oh, hey, thank you so much. Let's see here. It's this one, right? Yeah. So you put that in. Good. Put that in there. You report a step. All right, let's run this whole thing again. Configuration class. A name is required. Okay. It's surprising it's shocking how bad that error was. Okay, so why is it so big? Font 12. I want general font, like the font for everything. Apply here? No. Where do we keep that font, huh? Appearance. Oh, hey, my friend. I'm meeting a friend. I'm going to Chicago tomorrow. I think I told you. And a friend wants to meet me, which is great. I have. This is one of the few benefits of the spring team having given me so many opportunities, which is that I get to see cool people in cool places. Let's see here. But I need to upload this. Okay, so. Okay, so whatever. Okay, moving on. How do I change the font for the console in Deduping? How to change font for console in IntelliJ IDEA. Colors and fonts. Press Command. Okay, an editor color scheme console font. Okay, editor. What is a color scheme? Editor color scheme. How would it be? Editor color scheme. Editor color scheme. Console font. 14. Okay, now they scale with each other. Good. Okay, that's better. So, good. Okay, so we've got now, what is the issue now? A transaction must be provided. Okay, fair. That's fair. It is fair. So it wants a chunk and a transaction manager. So platform transaction manager, inject that into the constructor. Okay. So for the item writer, I think I want to make it a little clearer what's happening because I'm not able to be 100% sure that it's working. I guess. Okay, so why isn't it printing out what I'm expecting it to print out? What is it giving me? Oh, is it giving me a... Is the chunk not deduped? That's a good question. I got a list. Like, where's my... I'm seeing a single... there it is for one. Oh wait, okay. Actually, that's not so bad. It is working. I'm just getting a lot of data. Okay, so 1982, year platform 1981. Let's go down to like 1986. And for 1986, you can see the breakout has 1986 platform 1986. Okay. Oh, but this is also 1986. So I'm getting the same data a lot. What I don't want to do is get that. So I want to dedupe the chunk, and I suppose I can do that with a processor, right? Is that true? What is this item processor contract? If I have a chunk of a reader, can I do a processor? Is it okay to dedupe there? No, I get back. If I need to do the deduping myself, which is not a big deal. New hash set, year report. And then I just add chunk dot say set dot add all chunk dot get items. And that's what I'm going to look at, right? So I'll look at the set for each. That doesn't seem so bad, does it? Yeah, that's better. So now, okay. So I'm getting each row, when I print out, I'm getting exactly one row. But that does raise a good question, which is how do I avoid, how do I dedupe the results before we send them out to the to be processed on the other node, right? We want to make sure that we have only the right results. We don't want to send the same record twice to be processed, even though it's idempotent probably. There's no need to do the extra work if we can help it, if we can avoid it, right? So let's see here. Linked hash set. That'll give us ordering. So we can see 2020, 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014, 2013, whoops. Oh yeah, it's all the same here. Okay, so year report. 2012, 2011. So in order to make sure we don't have any dupes, I think what I would do is, I need to I need to intercept the item writer that we're going to use to forward the data onto the messaging system, right? To do the farming, the remote chunking. That seems tedious. But okay, I think we're good. I think let's for now not worry about that. Okay, I mean the deduping is a big to-do. Make sure we dedupe the data being written before it's been sent. It's been sent out. Alrighty? Good. So but still, for now, let me commit my atrocities here. Git status, git commit. First, wait, do I have, I don't think I have the format plugin. So git commit, aggregation. Okay, git push. Now we're going to introduce the remote chunking, and this is where things get a little more involved. Just a little. So here, your report step is the one where we're going to do the actual aggregation. That's where things are going to get crazy. Is there any way to do the deduping here? Current item count, fetch size, max item count, map rows. Nope, that's about it. Okay. I didn't even need this. I put this in there so that we'd have it like a checksum, basically, to make sure that, when we accumulated the year reports onto the report, the aggregate, that we had a way of saying, oh, okay, I've got 10, I should have 10 year reports, therefore, if I don't, something's wrong. But the way it's written, I'm keeping this little static variable here, not a static variable, I'm keeping a little state in the class in the row mapper. This map is just keeping track of everything. So, and that's global. It doesn't matter how many chunks I've got, because I'm not worried about how many, there's not going to be that many years. It's 40 years or whatever in the whole data set. So unless we move forward another million years in our history, there's just not that much data to worry about. So I created a little in-memory map. That's cool. One thing I might need to worry about, if I wanted to make this a little bit more robust, is the next time we run this job, somebody needs to clean this out, right? It needs to be cleared, and that's a step listener. But as I've got it written right now, the job only gets run once per JVM, right? When you start up, clear this out after the job is done. Some sort of listener. Okay. And by the way, did you know that Spring Batch emits events, Spring application events, and so you can listen for those, like event listener, batch, execution, or what is it? Event listener, void, batch job completed, batch, or the job execution event, job execution event. Yeah, there's a Spring Boot batch job you can listen to. So the job, as what is the event? Event dot get job execution, get the source, timestamp. You can say get status and is running running finished. Get exit status. Exit code. Execution event. Okay. We can actually listen for jobs. Whenever Spring Boot starts a job, it'll publish that event related to the job. So there's our data, job execution event, finished equals completed, running equals false. Not bad, huh? So how many of these do we get per Spring Boot? Oh, it looks like it only gets published when the job is done. So you can use that as a convenient way of knowing when the job is finished, and then you can tidy up some state. Actually, I could do that right now. So let's do that here. Event listener. Use the report map. Clear. Okay. There you go. So now it's reset for the next run. Okay. So now we have to introduce that remote chunking. Oh boy. Let's see. Keep that over here. That over here. And we've got random queue running. Things first. What about our build? On that XML. Remote chunking. We need Spring Boot Starter integration. We need the Spring Boot Starter AMQP. Did you see this trick? This is such a magic trick. Look at that. I'm going to copy and paste this pom.xml to my dependency. Oops, one at a time, I suppose. Oh, that's bizarre. Sometimes it'll do the right thing and just convert your, which is sorcery, by the way. It'll copy and paste your Maven dependency as a Gradle dependency. That's okay. It's not that hard to do it ourselves, but just wanted to show you. Okay. There's that. There's AMQP. Get rid of that. We need Spring Boot Starter integration. Get rid of that. Don't care about that. We need the Spring integration AMQP support. So we'll do this. That. Get rid of that. We've already got Spring Boot starter batch on the command line on the dependencies. We've got the JDBC support. But we don't have Spring Batch integration though, so let's get that as well. Okay, so it's Spring Framework Batch, Spring Batch integration. Get rid of that. And I think that's it. I think that's all we need for now. Just download those. Okay. Shift Command I. Shift Command I. Ooh. Okay. Git rollback. Close there. Okay, so that's this. The code should compile now. If we start adding this stuff, close the tabs. Now we just need to do it. So for the leader config, we're not going to have any profiles. I'm going to create 2 different Spring Boot apps. So I'll just chuck everything in there. So requests go here. The outbound flow Spring integration is that. So it's going to, for requests, it'll go on that channel. We've got the messaging template. That should be fine. We need the item writer. That's step scoped. Okay, and the data that we're sending is a year report. We're sending on the replies channel. That's this thing right here. Okay. And this is a different entity, different object. Okay. And what else do we need? We need the reply flow. So that gets created when a response comes back from the distribution. Here's the reader. We've already got our own reader doing SQL. That's the SQL that we just looked at. And then the step itself. Oh, we've got a remote chunking job. Yeah, okay, we already have that. The step itself, the tasklet, all that kind of stuff. That's all pretty straightforward, I guess. Writer. Why would this be a tasklet step? Whatever. It's still a step, right? Like I can just downcast it. Okay, so nothing special about that. All the hard part is this, which we've got, don't we? We've got the request replies. So these are message channels. I don't really gain anything by using the subtypes, do I? The direct, use the DSL, right? Direct.get and message channel queue get. A little cleaner. Okay, so requests and replies. We've got chunk handler. Nope, we don't have that yet, so let's copy and paste that. Year report. We need step. We need the step that we are going to be overwriting here. That's the one that we just created up here. Year report step. Okay. And the type that we're sending is a year report step. Oh, it's supposed to be, oh, sorry, that's supposed to be replies. That's correct. Replies is a queue channel. I guess that's why we do need the subtypes there. Okay, year report. We're doing subtypes, so it might as well be consistent. So direct channel. Okay. And we can dereference the step itself. This dot the report step. Issue. So it needs a tasklet step. Okay, I see. The type system is trying to tell me something, and I just seem to not be interested in listening, which is my problem. So let's just listen. That's good step. Okay. A lot of moving parts in this particular step. Somebody's going to need to create those cues. Yeah. I guess we'll do the queue creation here on the server. So class rabbit configuration at configuration, and then the queue stuff. Thankfully, it's all been done down here, so we can just copy and paste a lot of this even more. Okay, paste all that. So what do we have? We have a RabbitMQ queue definition, RabbitMQ reply queue, request queue, reply queue, an exchange to bind to act as the router for the incoming messages to the broker, a binding which links the queue to the exchange with a routing key request and replies. So installs all the infrastructure for RabbitMQ. Okay. Good. I guess we'll just try. What could go wrong? Ooh, a lot. Oh, right, because we don't have the configuration. But that's actually a good error. I'm pretty pleased we got as far as that. So RabbitMQ host equals localhost. Password equals password. And we can always look at Docker Compose, right? Docker Compose says user and password. So user. Cool. Now, we don't know if the results came back. Actually, that's kind of weird. I don't know if the results did come back. The results didn't come back, obviously. Nothing is there to respond. So does it just mark the job as finished? Okay, I guess we don't care. So let me go to RabbitMQ admin. Okay, user, password. Okay, there's our replies queue and a requests queue. How come we don't see any messages? Queue is empty. Who emptied it? I didn't. Did you? Did that work? Oh no, I didn't plug in the writer, did I? I'll bet that's what it is. See, it's still printing out this stuff, so therefore it could never have like, this is the wrong one. Okay, yeah. So we need to inject the chunk writing writer. This one. Okay. Chunk. Oh wait, actually, just rename it to the source. Okay. Take 3. Oops. Not serializable exception. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But that is a bit of a bummer. What's the easiest way to get that data serialized? I guess this could be, my friends, where that processor is useful. Remember, I was like waffling about where to insert that processor. So a processor is a thing that sits between the reader and the writer. In this case, the reader is reading from the SQL database and it's giving us that year report. We need to send it over the wire using RabbitMQ, and it's neither serializable nor a type that RabbitMQ knows what to do with out of the box. So here, it might be useful to just use Jackson to convert it to JSON and then send it over the wire. And then on the other, and that's actually even better because that means on the other side, it could be in any language. RabbitMQ is not a Java specific technology. You can use .NET or Python or Ruby or whatever to listen to messages on RabbitMQ. And so, in the interest of being as open and convenient as possible, I'll insert a processor to serialize to convert the data. So processor. Okay. Oh, actually, do I want to do that? What's this? I've got an item processor. So let's say we have the item processor that returns some JSON. Okay, so I guess I can just use JSON. Where's my step? Private finals object mapper. Need JSON. So I'm going to go back to my build. I'll bring in the Spring Boot Starter JSON support, which is a newish thing. And it's easier to work with JSON even if you're not using a web app. Okay. Okay, so go down here, read that, inject that into the constructor. And if you're using Lombok, this just becomes at required args constructor. Okay, and I should be using Lombok probably. I mean, look at the logging, and it's terrible. The constructors could use help. Okay. So let's see. We got the. What is my processor? Processor is object mapper dot write value as string item, and I changed the return type of that. So the data that I'm sending into this chunk message channel reader, whatever, is no longer a year report, but a string. So string. This is easier for debugging too, anyway. So I'm not upset with that at all. Okay. Chunk writer string. Okay. Okay, what about build? Reveal in Finder. Good riddance. Okay, you can see it's actually waiting for the results now. That's interesting. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Do we have data overview? Oh, okay, clearly something has happened. We got two queues. We got requests, we got one message. We get the data. And there it is. There's our JSON serialized data. Wow, why is that being sent? Oh, it's still a Java serialized object. It's okay. So instead of sending a string, it serialized the Java lang string. So I would which is fine. But we know it worked, right? Like that's okay. So on the other side, I would use it would come back as deserialized Java. I would get a string. I would then use Jackson on the other side to explicitly convert it back into a regular thing, which is cool. Cool. So we've got our producer side. Now we need to set up the consumer to actually respond to the work, actually to do the work in response to our having sent the data over. Okay. So, and this all assumes, by the way, that we're running the server first, the leader node first, right? Otherwise, the message queue infrastructure, the queue, the bindings, the exchanges, all that stuff won't exist and it'll fail. So we need to either, make sure we do this manually on a command line or something before we deploy any of these apps, or just duplicate it so that you can have it living in both the leader and the worker nodes, and that way, doesn't matter which one comes up and starts responding to traffic first. They'll both connect to RabbitMQ and they'll both initialize the equivalent topic and bindings and all that stuff if it's required. Yeah, okay. Either one is fine. Let's do that. So let's see. First things first, save this. Git push. Status. I think we need for now to reorganize a little bit, right? I've got one Git repository, and in that Git repository, I've got one code base, but I'm going to have a multi-module project here, right? I'm going to have two different Spring Boot apps, one for the leader, one for the consumer. Do I want to figure out this chunked? Do I want to figure out the delegation part yet? Like, I feel like I could probably do that, right? How do I want to do that? What interfaces does this thing implement? A lot, as it turns out. Implements these four. So I think I do want to solve that deduping issue. Okay, and here we're going to do something kind of like sneaky, right? Because what I need to do is I need to insert myself between the reader and the writer. And I need a chance to reduce how much data is sent, right? Because right now I'm getting duplicate records. So I want to dedupe them. And the only way I can dedupe them is to change what gets sent into the item writer. And in order to do that, I'm gonna wrap this class. I'm gonna create a proxy, basically. And I just have to have a proxy that implements 1, 2, 3, 4 interfaces and all the other callback methods. So I'm going to make sure that when it gets a chunk, the chunk it gets is, oh look, it's just an abstract. It's just a regular class. That's cool. So how do I even create one? Oh yeah, chunk.of items. So I can just create my own chunk of items, just like the Spring batch code does. And I can just forward that onwards. So how do we do that? I mean, cleanly. I'll come back to that. I want to get this integration working. To do, create a proxy using proxy factory bean to wrap this bean and dedupe the chunk string that's being sent out. Okay, good. Let's do that. So we'll do that later. For now, yeah, like I said, let's just go ahead and clean up the Git repository. So git commit clean git. This is desktop. Close that down. Go to the console here. Okay. CD desktop. CD batch. make beer. Let's code spring batch. cd, let's code get init. Okay. B minus R batch it. Batch. So this is this. Copy minus R batch. This cd batch. rmrf.get. Goodbye. rmrf.build. Goodbye. Idea. Okay, let's see here. Idea store. Git commit. Oh, what's the status? Oops. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So git status, git add batch. Git commit batch. Good. So now I've got move batch to leader. Git add leader. Git commit leader. Git push. So copy leader. Git ignore. Move status. Commit. And ignore. Just the usual cleanup, you know? Cleanup. Right. All right. We've got our server, our leader. We need to now build the consumer, the worker nodes. And those worker nodes have to take the message. They're going to do the opposite thing. Instead of sending out a message using RabbitMQ, they're going to read the message in from RabbitMQ and then process them. In this case, we're just going to like print out the result and thread sleep for like 10 seconds or something, you know, just to see that it works. Okay. Yeah, this should be easy. Okay, let's do it. So copy minus R leader. I'm going to call it worker. cd worker. I'm going to modify a few things here to keep it as clean as possible. So delete that file. We don't need this. Delete this file. I'm going to call this worker. I should have put this up relative to the root, huh? So README goes up here. You need a file system. So here, README. Okay, leader, data. Stays where it is. Docker compose can go up. Okay, so everything else is fine. Let's call this, let's get rid of the worker. And worker. So goody. So settings is called reader, and settings worker, reload, worker, here. Okay. Java source main resources. We do need the config file, but we don't need the schema, right? That's obviously going to be taken care of by the leader node, just like it's also taken care of initializing the RabbitMQ stuff. So right now we've got a bit of a non-microservice-y kind of thing. You could easily, extract out the SQL DDL initialization to some step in your CI pipeline. That'd be fine too. It doesn't have to be Spring Boot that does that. Likewise, the RabbitMQ queues, I could initialize all that on the command line as well. That doesn't have to be here either. So leader, source main, blah, 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 schema. And for the worker, common example batch. Well, we'll just same exact application. I suppose I could rename the Java class at this point, but basically we're where we need to be. So get status, get add worker, get status, get commit up, get add readme, get status, get add Docker compose, get commit Docker compose, push. Right, good. So there's that. Yep, okay, so leader, we have intelligent, no, good. Idea, build that Gradle. Worker, idea, build that Gradle. So leader node, not to be confused with Lederhosen. Java. So I think we could get rid of a lot of this, right? Like it's markedly simpler when we don't have to worry about all that stuff. So let's now go back to here and look at the, so first of all, batch is no longer relevant, right? Armor batch. Okay. And batch reference is useful still, of course. So CD scaling demos, idea pom.xml. And here's a worker config. Okay, but that's still a lot simpler than it was before because we don't have to do anything else. We don't have the job, we don't have the steps, we don't have any of that stuff. I think we just need the details, right? Maybe no, we don't even need the rabbit config. We just need the property file. Okay. Goody. Okay, there's the worker. We should come back to that native stuff later. Okay. Good. So it's a year report. Year report. It's not gonna it's gonna be a string, isn't it? It's gonna come in off rather than queue as a string. So we actually need to deal with that instead. And the writer is it can be whatever we want, I guess. Like so, set chunk processor. New simple chunk processor. And what is this? The chunk processor and writer. So the writer could be just anything, right? We could do anything we wanted here. Let's just create a simple. So the processor is what gets the data. Oh yeah, okay. So actually, the chunk processor. Let's see. Item chunk processor is a string, and we don't have the ability to return a thing, do we? Oh, we do, but we don't get to define. Oh yeah, so it's string in year report. Oh, right. So get the data, thread sleep, and then we can use JAXON. So private final object mapper. And then it's a constructor here. We don't need the binding anymore, do we? Oh yeah, they've got the bindings here. It's duplicated. So need that. We've already got it created. If we assume the server gets started first, then we don't need to do that. Anything. Message channel direct hit. Okay. Okay. Replies. Okay, requests. Messages coming in. Get that into the constructor. So it's from the queue called replies. This is okay, from the queue called replies. And then here we have a chunk processor. So private final, simple chunk processor, string in, year report out, new simple chunk processor. And oh, what is this? Private. You have to return an item processor and an item writer. So there's really no reason to do that. Let's just do that. So we can say private year report from string JSON. Read value. New parameterized. What is it? It's a new. It's just year report. Actually, it's fine. Let's just do that. Find out with try catch. Throw new enable argument. Oops, couldn't parse the JSON. Okay. So from your report JSON. Alrighty. So writer. The writer. What is the writer supposed to take? The writer can be anything. It's supposed to be a new item writer. So it's just an item writer. New item writer. And here it's going to take an item writer of what? It's going to be an item writer of year report. We're not going to do anything in particular with it yet. We're just going to log out the results. Year report. Year report. Okay. And we don't need the data source yet. So we'll say chunk get items for each row. System out print line. Okay. The writer, don't need that. Okay. And what about this one? We can extract that out. What this? Oh, no, I didn't want that. I wanted to do this as a separate variable. And processor var. So there's the item processor, and then the item writer is item writer. This dot writer. And that's this. Okay, it's a little bit clearer to kind of understand. I've got a chunk handler, which takes a chunk processor. Actually, this can just be pasted in there. Good. Handler. Okay. So we're going to log the JSON on receipt of the data, sleep for 5 seconds, and create year, or no, deserialize year report JSON. Okay, no big deal. What else? Everything else is pretty straightforward, right? Like private static, incoming, outgoing, good. For configuration, seems pretty straightforward. I think we're actually like done with the consumer side, right? The worker side. Like that's all. That's just these types. Yeah, okay. Let's just try it. I'm just curious to see if it'll work. Okay, run. First of all, just run. Can you run for me? It did something. Look at that. Ooh. That's so cool. Okay, so queue is empty. Okay, so let's try. Why is it unhappy? Build the leader node. That's the demo. I want the one that we built. Okay, run this. And then, is this one still running? Okay, I don't know. Let's see. Clear all. Okay, so it's running over here on the right side. Let's kick off the leader on the left side again. See what happens on the right. Nothing? Nothing. Well, rats. Queue is empty. Why is that true? Oh, there's an error. Okay, good. Okay, batch VG sales failed. That's because I moved things around, which is great. That's an easy bug to fix. I hope. I sure hope so. Let's see. Okay, where's my CSV load? Okay. I put it in a folder. It should be, this shouldn't even be a hard-coded thing, first of all. It should just be a parameter, passed into the Spring Boot application. So I'm going to rewrite this to take advantage of a parameter. I'm going to call this, CSV file. Okay. So now I can get that from anywhere. For now, I'm going to hard code it, but at least the code is written in such a way that I don't need to hard code it. I can rewrite it. So system.set property CSV file, and I'm going to pass in, where's the data? Data is in leader. Let's move this up. Might as well, since we're refactoring that code anyway. So okay, cd pwd. Okay, paste that in there. All right, let's see how that goes. Oops. Reader, input source. Ah, right, okay, so it has to be a path. It doesn't know what kind of resource it is. I didn't give it a schema or anything. Import file. Oh, I didn't give it the file name either. So if I want to use this one. Okay. Take 3. Yes, That's awesome. Okay, so that kicked off. Okay, let's just save it. We did good. We did some good things here, friends. So git status, git commit, fan out, batch, integration, fan out, works, git push. Well, git status first. And add data, git commit, data, git push. Okay. So now we still have to dedupe, right? Like we can see there's an issue with this data over here. 2016, but also 2016, right? Like, and it's the same data probably. 2016, year platform, 3DS. Yeah, exactly. It's the same data because the contract is a list of records and it's not deduping based on object identity or semantic identity or anything. Like even if it did something as simple as deduping based on memory, reference of memory, it would see that I've got many fewer records, actual records, than was sent over the wire. So I don't need those dupes. So I'm going to do something a little sneaky here, and we can do this because everything in Spring is just an interface, right, or a clean abstraction. So you can layer and compose and do all those kind of cool patterns to insert yourself in different parts of the object graph, right? Remember, Spring is all about dependency injection, and that gives you the ability to insert yourself wherever you need to. In the object graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a thing that wraps this chunk message channel item writer, okay? And it delegates to it. Okay, so let's see here. Let's create a method here. Private static t proxy for chunk delegate t. Whoops. It's t time. Okay, so I'm going to create a proxy based on that. This is a concrete class, so it has to be a cglib proxy. Var pfb equals new proxy factory bean. pfb set proxy target class equals true. pfb get add interfaces. So for var c delegate.get class.get interfaces, pfb.add interface, c, and what else? From there, pfb.set target is equal to the delegate that we're going to get passed in. pfb.after properties set or object, I guess, var result equals chunk key. And just return, right? So return that. Okay. That's warning unchecked. Thank you. Okay, so what is that going to do? It's going to create a proxy, and I'm going to use that opportunity to create a method interceptor. And whenever somebody calls a method on our delegate object, this event listener basically will get invoked, and the method I care about is the one where we pass in the collection of items. So public void write. See if there's any other ones. Oh, just this one. So keep that. So we're going to say the method that we care about, var write method. We'll do it outside of the advice because the advice gets called a lot of times. But here we're gonna, we're just gonna cache it. We don't need to research the method each time. So we'll say delegate dot get class dot get method delegate write and what do we care? What is the signature of the method again? Oh, write chunk of t. Okay, so we're going to look for the method on the, oh, it's called name. Okay, so there you go, get method name class parameter types. All right, exceptions, throws exception. Okay. So we got the right method. So if invocation.get method equals right method, then we'll do something, dedupe. But otherwise we want to return, we just want to let the invocation go through. We don't even care, right? So proceed. So actually we can do invocation.get method.get name equals right. So we can actually do that test. Okay. So if it's right, then we'll just call the method manually. So right method invoke on the delegate, and we're going to pass in our own chunk of deduped records, right? So remember what we said. We've got the args equals invocation.get arguments, and our chunk equals invocation.get, just arguments. We've already got that already there. So 0 if chunk instance of chunk, then C, right? Then we get the items, new hash set. Okay, so it's a chunk.get items. I'm going to say chunk dot of new items. Okay, so that's kind of much, isn't it? That's a little bit intense. So if this first parameter is an instance of a chunk, then capture the chunk using the smart, smart auto casting here, and then call this delegate method, but only and then pass in the chunk, but pass in a chunk that's been deduped. Okay. Otherwise, just invoke the method. Actually, we don't even need the else, so we can just return there. Okay. Let's hope that works. It's a little intense. Okay, let's see. So we go down here. Where's our use of this chunk? Proxy. Where does this thing get used? There. So our chunk message channel item writer proxy equals this guy. There's an exception, and restart. Okay. Who knows what's just happened? Restart again. Doesn't look like it worked. But why? Okay, let's put a debug in there. Let's debug it. So does this method ever get called? Did I test it incorrectly? It does not. Added vice. And we can actually just get the invocation. Get method. It's even easier. That's bizarre. Why? So is that not being used at all? Wait a minute. What's going on? Chunk handler, creating a proxy for something. This is an actual fully initialized bean at this point, right? So it's not like it needs anything else. Why is this confused? Set the chunk writer. Is this, well, first of all, is this being created? So like, I don't even know how this could be going so wrong. Refresh. Does it create it successfully? I suppose it must, right? Like, otherwise it would throw up before it even got to this point, but you never know. Yeah, it's working. Okay. Close. So where's the chunk handler? Go down to the next line. Okay. Oh, method through. Oh, I've got a. Oh, that's annoying. Wait. So does it work or not? Let's just keep going. It does work. It doesn't work correctly, but it does still invoke that, even though there's an exception about the scope not being active. So that isn't the issue. So what is the issue then? Let's see here. When in doubt, throw it out. Open in Finder. Okay. So proxy, okay, true. Proxy factory bean. You know, there's probably even an easier way to do this with less magic. I just realized I'm so dumb sometimes. Static class deduping chunk message channel item writer t extends chunk t, okay, and we're just going to dedupe. So right, okay, yes. Okay, why didn't I think of this before? Because sometimes I disappoint myself. Okay, so items var items, list items dot get items. Okay, var new collection, input collection equals new hash set key, and I could probably just add the collection, right? So new collection dot add all items dot items or input collection. Okay, so that's supposed to, now I get it. So that's probably part of the reason that it failed before, because it was sending a collection of t instead of t. And then pass this in, so new collection, super right. That's it, that's all I'm gonna do. So it's chunk.of. Is that right? What's the issue here? Oh, I need to create a list out of that still. Okay, var new list equals new array list of T new list dot add all new collection new list. Now what's the problem? It's expecting a chunk of chunk. So I can just pass in a collector. I can just instantiate the instance directly like that. Okay, so new chunk. Okay, that was painful, but I did it. So did I actually have to do that? So what is the, it takes a list. So I did need a list. Is there another one that takes just a collection? That'd be nice. No, okay. So it just takes a list. But still, yeah, okay, that was fine. So replace all, and then I could just dedupe set. But again, I could just probably take that. It's here, right? So, and then get rid of all this craziness. No need for that anymore. And this gets, that's just this. Okay, and then this thing need viewed. Okay. Looks sane to me. What about you? So it's just an extension. Okay, let's try this now. Okay, whoops. One more time. Cool. Okay, so 1990, it's in no particular order, which is because I created a set. I need to use a linked hash set. I keep forgetting that. So let's see, deduping new linked hash set. Yes. 2020, 2017, 2016, 2016, 2015. Yes, my friends, we did it. So you can imagine on this side doing something that takes a little while. So we've got each time we get this, each time this method, this callback gets called here, right? Private static void do something time intensive, right? And then I can actually, I'm getting a pointer to a year report. And so I can do that work here in the writer. So in the writer, all I'm doing is logging it out, right? Do something time intensive, chunk, chunk.getItems.for each, do something time intensive, right? And that could be like printing out a report. I could email somebody. I could do something that takes a while and for which maybe other microservices are better suited. And then in this case, all I'm doing is printing out the result, right? I'm just going to say year report, mount year report got toString. Take that like this. And restart. So restart this. Processing report JSON. Okay, that's the processor. But you can see that even by this point, the data 2002, 2003. So it's nice and clean and deduped by the time it goes across the wire, right? Which is good. We don't want to like waste any extra time on the wire, sending extra data we don't need. And then finally, when it comes time to actually do something, we've got this nice type safe object, 1980, 1981, etc., 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 etc. So there you go, my friends. That's been a look at Spring Batch. We looked at the normal flow, right? Like we looked at the normal stuff. Let me see. Let me get rid of this now. Yeah. Okay, we fixed all the to-dos. So we've got a Spring Batch job. We looked at how to launch the job or how to have Spring Boot launch the job. This is in the other videos in this series, by the way, right? Like earlier videos. And by the way, this could be a -d argument. When you run the Spring Boot app, you could say java -jar -d CSV file equals, and then give it a path to some CSV file. And that way, each time you run the Spring Boot app, the job has a different parameter, and you can reuse it for different files. It doesn't have to be the same file every time. That would be pointless. So you got a job. You want to make sure that it's unique, although you could get rid of this and you could have some logic based on your particular requirements to say, okay, this step is erroring out, and so I want to retry it, or I want to fail the whole job. There's all sorts of stuff we could do around that. We did some basic error handling here by saying, okay, first step is to create this, to ingest the CSV data into the database. And then if the CSV file is empty, which we determine using a listener, if it's empty, then we go to the error step over here. And otherwise, we go from the first step to everything else. If the exit status is anything but an error of this type, then we go to the year platform report step, where we move the data in the video game sales table into a sort of a summary table, which still has duplicative data, but at least it's in a normalized, clean form. And then we go from there to the year report step, where we actually do the work and send the work across the wire. There's something, for the preparation of the report, we want to send the data over the wire so that we can take advantage of something. And again, this is where you want distribution. So behind the scenes, a lot of this infrastructure is using Spring integration, right? So we're using Spring integration to send a message over RabbitMQ, and then the message arrives over here in the worker node, and we're able to do whatever we need to do, and then we produce a response. And the response gets sent back once we're done processing. If there are any exceptions or anything like that, then of course that doesn't get sent back, and we'll see that on the other side over here as well. So the writer in this last step is just a writer to a message queue. And when the reply comes back, assuming they all come back, we finish the job. And then we even took advantage of the fact that as powerful an engine as Spring Batch is, it is still just Spring. And so everything is beans in Spring, and you can override the beans and plug in different implementations and so on. So I overrode one method in one particular bean that we're using to insert myself here to make the data deduped. And it worked out nicely. Very clean, easy thing to do. And from the contract of Spring, everything's still the required type. So all the round pegs fit in the round holes and all that stuff. So my friends, it's been fun. This has been a good Let's Code. We're going to do more of these Let's Codes just to explore. I love Spring Batch. I was really excited to get the chance to review this all. Maybe we'll do one more stream. I don't know. Maybe we could do one more stream and turn this into a native image. But to be honest with you, this is already you're in a good place, and turning batch apps into a native image probably not that important, because again, the most of the memory that you're going to spend is your data. But couldn't hurt. I'll give it a shot and see how it goes, and if it's okay, maybe we'll do one more stream on that. But I think right here, if you watched up until this point, then you've gotten one heck of a whirlwind tour. First of all, this is several hours now of content, probably close to 5 hours of exploration of Spring Batch and SQL and Postgres and Spring integration and so on. So I hope you got something out of it. I'm always glad that people join me for these things. As always, I have been streaming on YouTube, so I hope you're watching these on YouTube. That's the most valuable place for me to have your attention. So please join me here, right? And there's other stuff here for you as well, otherwise. All right, my friends. Again, you can look for this in the live streams. This is part 5. No, this is part 6. Part 5 is already up there. So there's already 6 videos. That's crazy. Good stuff, my friends. Good stuff. We did good. I'll see you tomorrow. Actually, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to be flying to. I probably won't see you tomorrow. But like I said, there's lots of videos here. I'm flying to Chicago tomorrow, and then when I hit the ground, I got to hit the ground running, so to speak. So a lot of people to meet and all that. But I will be streaming. At least I'll be trying to stream from Chicago. Hey, maybe you'll see me late at night. Maybe it'll be, or maybe you'll see me really early in the morning or earlier than I usually stream, just because I've been streaming noon my time, which is just the tail end of most people in EMEA's day. And then like right now it's 6 o'clock my time, which is people are sound asleep in EMEA. But people in Asia have started to trickle in and all that. So, if I'm in Chicago, that's 2 hours east of me. That is to say, they're further along in the day than I am, 2 hours further along. So if I were to start streaming early morning there, maybe it'll be more valuable. All right, my friends, have a good